Yum, 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 yum. Let's see. I think hopefully I got this technology thing situated. If not, well, I don't know what to say. I'm trying my hardest here, people. Yum, 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 yum. Let's see. I upgraded this thing, so hopefully it's working now. And hopefully you see me in real time. Got my little headband. So I hope that you guys celebrated the solstice yesterday, or day before, whatever it was. I guess I'm not really good at what days it was, but did a powerful meditation yesterday. There was a group of individuals who invited me to go, and I wasn't able to make it, but I harnessed, good morning, Jennifer, the energy of the solstice. So the energy of setting new foundations, allowing ourselves to bring in new energy, because that's what it is about. That's what this whole alignment is. And I started to think, I read up a little bit like, well, what does it mean when Jupiter and Saturn sort of come together in unison? And literally what I feel is happening in what it was for me was a reminder of balance. How do we balance our life out? So Jupiter being the planet of wisdom and understanding, right? Saturn sort of being the materialism or the world of materialism, sort of kind of see it like these two things that kind of compete. One is not so materialist, the other one is so materialist, and then they kind of come together and you're kind of thinking, well, how do I balance out the two? And so really looking at how do we balance out our life to set new foundations for the new year. And that's really what I felt, or what came up for me. And I will say that I went and stood outside and I just put my head up like this, and I got a little bit dizzy and I heard some wah wah. So there was some real powerful energy happening. And I don't know, someone said it's going to be out for 9 days. If you haven't gone out to see it in the sky, go out and look. It's just this big star by the moon. It looks like a star, but there's the two planets aligning very bright and look orange. So they don't look like normal stars in the sky. So I think you could see the difference of them. So I highly encourage that you go out there and you check it out tonight if you have a chance. And if you want to go out and meditate or set intentions, do that as well. Because now is the time to harness that energy, right? And to utilize it for something powerful. Setting new foundations, new ways of being, new ways of discovering, changing your life around, understanding that things aren't always permanent and they don't have to be, right? There's no permanent in anything. Things are constantly changing. And so it's like, how do we let go of the old ways and start stepping into new ways of being in existence? That's really what this is about, right? Because get so attached to the old way of being. And that's what it's offering us that. Even if we look at the politics in this country, in the Western society or civilization, we see that things are changing and people are wanting to cling to old ideas and old ways of existing, but that can't happen. It's time to release the old ways and allow something new to come in. It's like this, though. God always gives you something better when you let go. That's the beauty of life. That's why I'm okay with letting go, because I already know that when I let go, something else is going to come in and it's going to be more fruitful. Why hold on to the weeds when you can let go of the weeds and allow new flowers to blossom in your garden, right? So for me, it's let go of the weeds or get rid of the weeds, whatever it is. And sometimes that's just writing out what you want to let go of, burning it up and allowing it to flow outside. Okay. So there you have it. And then, so harness the solstice. That's what I did last night. Me and my niece went for a drive to the mesa, and we looked up at the sky, and let me tell you, it was really cold, so we didn't stay very long because it was really cold over here. Wherever you're at, if it's not cool, you're lucky. You can stay out there all night, but for me, I freeze real quick, so I was like, well, it's really cold, so I think we should go. But it was awesome. Okay, so we're going to continue on with this book, right? Because we want to talk about the dark emotions. And I could say welcome Aquarius 100% into our existence. Aquarius is here. Pisces is no longer here. We are now in the era of Aquarius. So it's also a nice time for us to remember that, you know, Aquarius is here. That's the new thing, okay? Um, awesome. Okay, so if I don't say good morning to you on Facebook, please say good morning. It's because I'm not seeing you. I would love to tell you good morning. I love telling people good morning. Okay, let's get started. So the major contention of this book is that we must become friendlier with our dark emotions in order to use their energies for healing and transformation on both the individual and collective level. To do so, we have to stop thinking that feeling emotional pain means we're sick. In breaking through the taboo against the public disclosure of therapists' suffering, I want to depathologize, I don't know what that word is, depathologize, I can't say that word, it's funny. Depathologize. I don't think I'm saying that right, but it's funny. Okay, experience of grief, fear, and despair. To explore these emotions in a more universal as well as more socially conscious context. Emotional suffering, as I write about it here, is not a sign of mental disorders or illness. It's a universal fact of life. The Buddha, first noble truth, in inevitable results of living in a damaged and damaging social context and a unique pathway of spiritual awakening, growth, and transformation. So I've talked about it before. In Buddhism, it is suffering exists. That is like the first truth. You can't escape it. You can't pretend it doesn't. It just does. Okay, suffering exists in this three-dimensional time space. Once we surrender to understanding that, now we have something to work with. But if we deny it, we're not working with it. We're setting up walls against it. We're causing war, basically, with ourselves. We're putting up this wall of war, and we're battling ourselves. Really, we think we're battling the external world, and we're just battling ourselves, to be quite honest. Okay, steeped in the medical model of psychiatry, we have lost the sense of grief, fear, and despair as universal experiences and responses not just to personal, but also to social and global conditions. A culture that insists on labeling suffering as pathology, that has ashamed of suffering as a sign of failure and inadequacy. A culture bent on the quick fix of emotional pain inevitably ends up denying both the social and spiritual dimensions of our sorrows. So basically, we are saying that those are inadequate. So society itself has pegged so the dark emotions are emotions that are uncomfortable as you're inadequate, something's wrong with you. If you feel this way, you have to feel happy all the time. That must be. It's funny because, and my mom's on here, I don't know if she's still on here, but it's funny because I'm typically, my temperament is like bubbly and happy and laugh and joke around. And then when I'm like sad or mad or something, my mom goes, "That's not you." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is. That is me. That's part of who I am." You know, we're not always going to be happy. We're not always going to be bubbly. We're not always going to be, joyful. That's not true. It throws people off, though. If you tend to lean towards a more optimistic personality or opportunist or excitement, when that individual goes into a dark space, something must be wrong. No, there's nothing wrong. I always tell my mom, there's nothing wrong. I'm human. I I get pissed off. I get sad. I get hurt. I go through those emotional states. It doesn't make us inadequate. It just means that we're going through something. And for me, as my mom can contend, as my mom can witness for me, is that I allow myself to go through those states of being. And I go through it fully. And I allow myself to feel it. And I don't make myself wrong for it. I just allow myself to experience the emotional pain and anguish. And then when I come out of it, I feel 100% better. And I'm like ready to go, ready to create. But again, it's not, it doesn't just go away. I'm not just happy all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the root of the problem is that we've socially, especially in Western society, we have continued to see that people make it wrong. Good morning. Oh, good morning, Ronald. And I don't like to see you sad. I know, but it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Sadness is that's what I love. I love sadness. I love it because I cry and then afterwards I turn on music and I dance around. Yes, Jennifer, you could come have coffee and we'll have long talks. Okay, let's see. So, denial is present in different ways in a great deal of New Age literature of healing. Here, an airy spiritual focus offers healing path to often bypass the reality of suffering on the ground, avoiding or denying the social roots of our pain and disassociating itself from the darkness in our world. If healing is to mean more than a welcome of relief from individual pain or fear-driven avoidance of collective pain, it must be connected to a process of inquiry, of inquiring deeply into the suffering that is a part of everyone's life and spiritual journey. And that is an overwhelming fact of life on the planet today. Having to face this is overwhelming. Having to face this isn't easy. Having to go through the dark emotions are not easy. It's not an easy path. The spiritual path and spiritual way and spiritual walk is not easy. It's not, people sit there and they say, oh, I just want to be enlightened or I'm enlightened. You're never enlightened. You never get there. It's like not a destination you're going to get to and stay there. That's not how it works. Okay? That's not how it works. It's a journey. Life is a journey. And I know will we ever get there? I don't know. But there's moments of epiphany where I feel that you feel that enlightenment. I don't think that someone reaches enlightenment, stays there. Well, maybe they do. Maybe somewhere in the world, someone's just sitting there meditating and they're just in pure bliss 100% of the time. And they never have to pee. They never have to poop. They never have to do anything. They just sit there and they're just illuminated. It's like you can't deny it. Like if someone's sitting there meditating, eventually they're going to have to pee. And maybe, good morning, Quadi. How are you? Well, it's been a while since you've been on here. Some of the old folks that haven't been here in a while, Suze, I saw her the other day. Well, she wasn't on here, but I saw that she liked. Anyway, good to see you. Or, see you on here. Hope things are going well with you and your family. And so, eventually, maybe they don't suffer. Maybe they just sit there and poop in their pants and who cares? They don't care if they smell. I don't know. But what I'm saying here is that, people think, oh, they're enlightened or they're sitting on the mountain up high and they're spiritually, that's not how it works, okay? Let's be real. That's not what a master is, and that's not what a master does. A master is just well practiced in their dark emotional states of being. They can alchemize it, and I've talked about this plenty of times, right? So again, it's alchemizing that experience. And how do we do that, right? Is allowing ourselves to surrender to the dark emotions, right? Are the emotions that are uncomfortable, that cause disease, that are like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I just hold it in. I don't want to. Okay. And the better the outcome, right? When we do go through it, because we allow ourselves to drop into our hearts and open up. I've been trying to catch up with you maybe in the new year. Yeah. So I'm reading a book. I don't know if you know, Quadi, I'll just tell you. I'm reading a book. It's called Healing Through Dark Emotions by Miriam Greenspan. And it's the wisdom of grief, fear, and despair. So talking about kind of going through those uncomfortable emotional states of being and how do we actually allow ourselves, surrender to them and allow ourselves to go through the process of feeling them fully to see what's available on the other side of them when we go through them. And, I think you can relate to this, Quadi, because of your, you said your new profound insight and having to work with people that you love that don't really or didn't understand you, right? There's must have been some suffering or something that showed up inside you. Maybe you felt isolated, maybe, or whatever you felt, or angry or frustrated or whatever. Just all those uncomfortable feelings that we're not taught how to utilize those things and how to redirect it. But again, with the master, A master, again, is not just someone who's sitting on a hill illuminated. Eventually, they might go to the hills. Like, I might eventually just go to the hills and say, I retreat. I've given everything I can to society, and now I'm done. Now I'm ready to just be with me completely and God. But that doesn't mean that I'm completely just enlightened and that's it. And I'm just, it just means that I, I have actually done the work that I need to do. And because I'm so quick at processing my dark emotions, that it's almost like it doesn't exist. It's almost like it's not there. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't show up. It just means that I can get over it like this. And I'm still in practice, right? I'm still a Padawan. I'm a baby Yoda. Someone said, that's not baby Yoda. That's not his name. I said, I don't care. I'm still baby Yoda. I'm calling him baby Yoda. He looks like a baby to me, and he looks like a Yoda. So I'm a baby Yoda. I'm in training still. Maybe when I'm 100, I'll be like, oh, on the mountain. Oh. And then, maybe I get a little cold and that causes a little suffering, but I get over it real quick, something like that. I don't know. Let go and trust yourself. You are being guided. Amen. I agree with that one. Hi, Lydia, or Linda. Sorry, that's making up my own name for you. Okay. So, healing is meant. Okay, so let's see here. If healing is to mean more than a welcome of relief from individual pain or fear-driven avoidance of collective pain. Oh, it must be connected to a process of inquiry deeply into the suffering that is part of everyone's life. So it's the inquiry that's important. How do we inquire? How do we be sort of inquisitive? And inquiry to me is like inquisitive, questioning, right? Questioning what's coming up. Why is it this? How is it showing up? How come this is bothering me? Why does this da-da-da? And it's the questions that you ask, and that's coaching yourself through the process of the dark emotions or the things that are holding you back. Those questions are powerful. I like to live in powerful questions. So sometimes I'll contemplate and I'll be like, why did I feel that way? The other day, I'm going to tell you my own story, okay? I'm going to put this book down just for a second, and I'm going to tell you a story because good morning, the guru. So literally working on the process, right? And my niece is growing up, and I have attachments to my niece, right? I'm attached to her. I love her. She's a great kid. But and I think in our family have been so careful about guiding her. We want her to do every little thing we tell her and exactly how we tell her. And I mostly want her to do what I tell her to do, and not as do what I do and not as do as I say and not as I do. No, I do these things, and I want her to be like me. But I'm 40. I've been practicing for a long time. Like, I made my mistakes, right? And so I expect her to kind of be where I'm at. And she's not. She's a kid. She's a teenager. Okay, cool. So I was sitting here contemplating. I was just like, man, I'm just bugged at her right now. She's just not doing what I think she should be doing, right? Really, who am I to be telling her what she should be doing? Anyway, I've given her enough guidance. I've given her enough wisdom that I think, hopefully, in the back of her mind, she has that little tiny auntie voice that steps in when she's not doing things the way she should be. Okay, that's still control, I know. But the other day I was thinking about judgment. So I was like, wow, judgment came up, and then I was like, am I judging? Am I judging what I think she should be doing? Am I, making wrong what she's doing? What am I doing? So really think about this. And I had to sort of step back and sort of assess where I was in the situation. And I said, yeah, I am. So let it go. Surrender. It's not mine. You got to trust, right? Trust the process. Trust God with her. It's not I can't, I've done everything that I can. And then that's kind of how it is. There's a point where you say, I surrender, because it's only causing me harm because I'm getting frustrated, right? Really, it's probably just hurt, right? It's hurt because it's like, well, you still want him to be young and the same, and you want him to look up to you and whatever else, right? It's all ego. The ego's like, hey, please come. So let go and not judge. And it came up again, even with my sister. How do they help them? Oh, I see. Okay, I'm sorry, Mom. I just saw your message now. Hopefully, you're on here still. So yeah, so I just basically was like trying to control, and I said, "Man, you're judging. You're totally judging. I need to just stop judging and let it go and trust God, trust her, trust." And then it was funny. I had a conversation with my sister later, and she goes, "Well, maybe I'm gonna stop judging her." She even said it, and then I said, "Yeah, that's exactly the conversation I had with my own self this morning." Was like, stop judging, just get over, and we let go, and we let. So again, it's that surrender, that place of surrender that we go into. Not always easy, right? Especially when we're around people we love. When someone is in a dark place, how do you help them? So the best way that when someone tells me they're in a dark place and they need support, literally what I do is I set up a coaching call with them. Because you can't help people out of a dark place. They have the ability to help themselves out of a dark place. So it's not really that we help them. We can facilitate a dialogue within them. I think that's probably what it is. Facilitate a dialogue within them that gives them the power to work with. Now, I wouldn't say overcome their dark place, but work through the darkness. It's something that we work through. And so giving them the power to work through their darkness or their dark place. You can't do anything for anybody, literally. Like, I can get on here all day and talk, doesn't mean that I'm doing anything for anybody. Really what it is I'm sharing my story in hopes that maybe something internally ignites in that individual, and then they say, oh, okay, I have this within me. Or maybe I ask a question and then they start to think about that question. So that's why I say living in questions is critical. Like, maybe igniting, asking, being curious and inquisitive. Like, that's what I do with individuals. I'll say, okay, well, why this? Well, why that? I mean, I go so deep to want to know why, like, my cousin didn't like bananas one time and she was getting frustrated with me. But why? Is it the texture? Is it the taste? I don't understand. And then I just wanted her, and literally she was like, I just don't like them. I don't know. The texture, the taste, they're bleh. And I said, oh, okay, it's the texture and the taste. Okay, cool. I just want to know. But, it's that curiosity. And I think sometimes helping people is just listening, being an ear to listen, and then facilitating powerful questions that ignite a deeper sense of who they are. So they really help themselves. We just facilitate a question, perhaps. And the power lives within them. So if they can sort of see the question and be on the journey of being on the quest, right? Because if you're in a question, you're on a quest. But that takes really the power of them wanting to understand themselves. Because if someone doesn't want to understand who they are and why things are the way they are for themselves, and they want to continue to numb out, right? Numb out and pretend that things don't exist, they're going to end up creating the same thing. You have to open up. You have to be able to open up and be vulnerable and allow yourself to listen to the internal voice that's guiding you. And you have to be willing to go through the darkness, not hide it or numb it out or avoid it. So the person may not even want to come out of the dark place. You don't even know that. You're just wanting to rescue people out of dark places, and they don't even want to come out of dark places. Maybe they want to stay there. You don't know. So it's like the question, right? It's like, I don't know. I don't know everybody's life. I don't know what they're up to. I don't, making assumptions. Sometimes we do, and I make assumptions, especially for the people I know, and I have to say stop and ask. What's going on? Just explain it to me. So being inquisitive and questioning, I hope that answers your question, and I hope that you're still on here to listen to that answer, Mama. Okay, so today, if you're someone who cries when you read the newspaper or watches the news on TV, if you've become numb out to the overwhelming grief of fear for our world, if You're someone who sees the connection between our emotional states and living in the age of global threat. If you love the world and want to see it heal itself, I hope this book will be some use to you. Now is a fruitful, if not urgent, time to learn the alchemy of dark emotions. For those who desperately need a way to feel more helpful, resilient, and joyful, take heart. The emotions that appear to afflict us can be the vehicles of our liberation from suffering. And I believe that. That's what I've been trying to say. It's the liberation from suffering when we accept it, okay? Experiencing our grief, fear, despair in a new light. We renew our capacities for gratitude, joy, and faith. We grow in courage and compassion. We approach the world with less fear and more wonder. We have more energy for changing the things that matter. These gifts can only be found when we are unafraid to dance the dance of dark emotions in our life. Let's dance. I love that. Now there's a Hindu goddess, Swavati. Oh, I don't know if that's right. Or Shiva. I think it's Shiva. That does the dance. That it's the cosmic dance between, and it's the balance, and it's the dance between the divine feminine and the sacred masculine, the sacred feminine and sacred masculine. They do this sort of like flow of dance, right? And the dance is dark emotions, light emotions, and so it's sort of this back and forth sway and flow, and that is what you tend to do when you start to work with dark emotions. You start to understand how to dance with them instead of avoid them and shut them out like if they don't matter. It's how can you dance with a partner who doesn't want to move with you? You can't. You have to have a partner that wants to move with you, right? So if you want the dance to work, the dance can't work without a partner that doesn't flow with you, right? It's like, then you're like, and then it's a wall, and then you're stuck, and then one's not, or one's not doing anything, and the other one's doing all the work, or whatever it is. So that's the same understanding within you, that you have this dance within you, and so the dark emotions are trying to sway and flow with you, and people cut them off, and then it's like they can't move. They just become immobile. So I say utilize them to move and to start to dance with yourself. Okay, so we are going to start on chapter 1 tomorrow, and it's listening to pain, and I will just go through this. Help us to always be hopeful, gardeners of the spirit, who know that without darkness nothing comes to birth, as without light nothing flowers. Mary Stratton. The invocation of Kali. Kali is the great fire. Life is so sad with this COVID. We lost Dennis Chavez and Lydia Montoya. Please pray with their family. You're so cute, Mama. Yes. Send prayers to the individuals. COVID has been a big it's been a big issue for a lot of people, and it's brought up a lot of different things, not just in loss, but also in loss of, in loss, but not just loss of individuals, but loss of jobs, loss of identity, loss of, people are really struggling to sort of figure out what's going on, what they're seeing with the world around them, and that's in the Western world. Not everybody is in the same circumstance, right? There's certain countries that are back in 100%, like India. For India's like everything's back to normal. Over here, it's not. So, people, they get their news from, just what's happening in the United States, especially if you live here. And, people don't realize that there's a whole other world happening out there, and not everybody thinks the way that we think in the Western world. We could become so pigeonholed to our way of thinking. And so this COVID, especially for the Western world, has really, really, really taken a toll on the foundation of our, everything, political, internal, mental, physical, everything. And it's questioning the very fabric of the foundation that was laid for this particular country, in my personal opinion. So it's been a very trying time for people, especially in America. So, people have lost their jobs. There's been a lot of loss. But this loss is an opening to go through the grief and the despair and all of the emotional states that Miriam Greenspan is talking about in this book. That loss is it is the open gateway to go through that process of grief, of loss, of despair, of hurt. So I invite you guys to be open to that. And I'm going to close with this. Blessed are the men and women who are planted in our earth, in our garden, who grow as your trees and flowers grow, who transform the darkness into light. The Odess of Solomon. Okay, so now we're going to go into chapter 1, and I'm going to start that on Monday. I don't know why I'm going to say tomorrow's Monday. It's because it's a new chapter and I'm thinking it's a new week, but that's not true. We're going to start this on Wednesday. And then we'll go into Christmas. And of course, I'm going to be here on Christmas and every other day and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I love you guys. And you guys have the best Tuesday ever. Keep going. You guys are doing magnificent. I love you guys so much. And I want you to know that, like, I'm here for you no matter what. I just want you to know that I'm trying to do the best that I can. This doesn't reach a lot of people, and some people get off and on, but that the message that I give hopefully lands on the ears of people who need it the most. That's what I pray. And I pray that when it lands on their ears, that it leads them back to God, leads them back to their heart, leads them back to love, leads them back to their magnificence and their power and their worthiness and their understanding that they are powerful. And that's the hope of this, is that, that this can support an individual back into their life of understanding that they are God in motion and they are love, and that this life isn't easy to live. And it's okay because you're not alone. You have a family. The entire human race is our family. We're all going through suffering. Everyone. Nobody, not the queen. I don't care if she calls herself the queen. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but look, the pope, the queen, they're human. They're people. And so they feel, and they're flesh. And so they go through suffering just as everybody else does. They're not X'd out from the suffering. It's not like God said, hey, you're human, but you're the Pope. You're not going to suffer. Hey, even Jesus Christ suffered. Okay? So let's just look at that. He was nailed to the cross. He suffered tremendously, right? Everybody suffers. Nobody escapes it, right? So there's nothing wrong with you. Moses suffered. Let's just go through the Bible. Let's go through all of the people, all of the individuals. Buddha suffered. All these people in any religion, guess what? They all suffered. There's nothing wrong with you. When they say something's wrong with you, they're like, oh, well, you're in suffering. Well, yeah, so is Jesus Christ. You don't think he was hurt when I don't remember which one of the disciples, he's like, you're gonna deny me, whatever. The guy who hung himself, like, you don't think he went through some kind of pain? Of course he did. He didn't just say, who cares? He was hurt. He was upset. He just understood how to go through those emotional states of being, and that's why he said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If they were able to alchemize their own emotional pain, they would have never stoned people. They would have never whipped people. They would have never crucified people. They would have looked how to heal people. So nobody escapes it. I mean, you could be excited in the new year knowing that somebody's telling you that. You could be like, yes, score. I have an entire world of human beings. Not even here, everybody. Birds suffer, elephants suffer, fish suffer. They could say, well, they don't feel pain. We don't know that. We're not in their bodies. But dogs suffer, everything suffers here, okay? It's just a big planet of suffering. And it's sad to say, but that suffering is here for a reason. We can utilize it for our benefit. We can say, how do I use this suffering to overcome to work with, to connect myself back to God. So it can function as a way to get us back to love and whatever. But you're not alone. So there you go. Everybody suffers, okay? That's one thing that's for certain. All right. So there you have it. So I love you guys. Have a fantastical, beautiful day. And I will see you all tomorrow.